Welcome to the Portable Classroom Maximize Your Potential program. This is a practice video for side-by-side 4, page 112 to page 113. From the example to the fourth picture. In this practice video, we're going to talk about how to transform a sentence from its direct speech to its indirect speech. Now, the thing we know about these two speeches is that if we use the present simple tense in a direct speech, then grammatically speaking, we have to use the past tense in an indirect speech. Present perfect tense in a direct speech, past perfect tense in an indirect speech. So you get the picture. We have to go back in time if we are going to transform a sentence from a direct speech sentence to an indirect speech sentence. So without further ado, let's practice with the pictures. There's one more thing. This is a practice video, so you do need to have your books opened right next to you. So please turn to page 112 and 113 and practice along with the video. So first, let's take a look at an example. What's everybody talking about? Haven't you heard? Our English teacher is in the hospital. Now you're kidding. I didn't know that our English teacher was in the hospital. You didn't? I thought everybody knew that our English teacher was in the hospital. So the first thing is that you don't have to write them. Well, these are the beginning of the clause. So this is a clause. This is a clause. The underlined part is the clause. That's the clause, and this is the beginning of a clause. In fact, this is a noun clause. If you want to know about noun clauses, please go to the Maximize program, the Max program, and look for the section that says noun clause. I'm not going to explain further in this video, and that is the beginning of the noun clause, and you don't have to write it, especially when the word that is after a verb. Okay, so the same thing here. You don't have to write down that. You can simply say, I didn't know our English teacher was in the hospital. Now you see, this is an indirect speech sentence. It's from this sentence. Our English teacher is in the hospital. When the person say that. So the direct speech would be like, they said. They means the students, okay, or the people in the picture. They said, our English teacher is in the hospital. As you can see that this is a direct speech sentence. This is a direct speech sentence and is in present simple tense. As you can see that, present simple tense. So when another person like B say that, or people in the class say that, now another person just say what the other person said, then we have to use indirect speech. So you see, simple present tense, past tense. Okay, so an indirect speech of the sentence will be like this. They say that their English teacher was in the hospital. Now remember, when I say what other people had said before, I have to be careful with this, because when they say it, it's their English teacher. So they say our English teacher, but when I say that, I'm not a person in the class. So you have to be mindful of the pronoun or the possessive pronouns or possessive adjectives in the sentence, okay? If necessary, you need to change the persons. Like in this case, it's their English teacher, not my English teacher. So direct speech, our English teacher is in the hospital, present simple tense, changed into a past tense sentence. So our English teacher, their English teacher was in the hospital. And also, direct speech, remember the comma and the quotation marks. For the indirect speech, no comma and no quotation marks. Let's move on to picture number 1. Picture number 1, we'll just focus on the direct speech part and the indirect speech part. Now look at picture number 1. Picture number 1, the direct speech, what the students say would be, they said Jack is going to be a father. Now indirect speech, I say what they had said before. So they said that, of course, you can choose not to use the word that. Jack, and now look, this is future tense, is going to be. Now I have to change it to its past tense. Only one word needs to be changed, and that word is. So that Jack was going to be a father. And then, so indirect speech will be, they said that Jack was going to be a father. Now look, future tense is going to be becomes this. its past tense version was going to be. Now, if I put the sentence into the patterns that you see on the page, like I didn't know that, or I thought everyone, that would be like this, because these are indirect speeches. So this is what we do. I didn't know that Jack was going to be a father. So you see, it's basically just over here. Okay, it's basically just the indirect speech that we wrote a few minutes ago. So it's the same thing. I thought everyone knew that Jack was going to be a father, because these two sentences are also indirect. They are not direct. They are not direct speeches coming out from the person who said first. Okay, so let's look at picture number 2. Picture number 2, the direct speech of the sentence. If you look at the picture, you will see they said, our landlord wants to sell the building. So they said our landlord wants to sell the building because they live inside the building. Now, when I say what they have said before, that's indirect speech, and I will say they say that it's not our landlord anymore, it's their landlord. Wants becomes wanted, because you see present simple tense, and becomes its past tense. Wanted to sell the building. Okay, so the indirect speech will be they said that their landlord wanted to sell the building. Okay, all right, we use these two to demonstrate how to transform a sentence from its direct form to its indirect form. But these two sentences over here, we cut them out from the dialogue. So you have to remember that in the book, A and B, the two of them are having a conversation. So when one of them say our landlord to the other guy, it's also our landlord. So you have to be mindful of the pronouns, okay? So when A said, our landlord wants to sell the building, B, by repeating what A had said before, indirect speech, but B will say, I didn't know our landlord. Now, indirect speech, wanted to sell the building. All right, still indirect speech, but just be mindful of the pronoun. All right, and then A will say again, I thought everybody knew that our landlord wanted to sell the building. It's the same thing, repeating itself again, because they're quoting what has been said by the person at the first place. All right, so let's move on to picture number 3. Picture number 3, the direct speech for picture number 3 is they said we are going to get raises next week. The indirect speech will be said